Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We are back in open session with the Joint Legislative Management Committee meeting on November 8th, 2023. We are waiting for the rest of the committee to rejoin. This will just take one more minute for our colleagues to come back on Zoom. While we are waiting, just a reminder to everyone in the room, after we wrap up this agenda topic, we'll be moving on to bring our Sergeant at Arms up to give an update on the State House expansion, which should only take about a little over 10 minutes, and then we'll adjourn so that the hiring committee can start the interview at 11. Give it one more minute here.
And Senator Kitch is coming in too also.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the full committee back online in open session, and so I want to thank Kevin for answering all of our questions and providing this really helpful assessment of the security of the State House. And it is our understanding that we'll be taking next steps for you to submit these recommendations and plans to our Sergeant at Arms, and then we can begin to review and that making those policies of the building. So we'll kick off that process. And if there are any other issues that come up, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, okay?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Kevin. All right. Now with that, we will bring up our Sergeant at Arms, Janet Miller, for an update on State House expansion. Renovation. Any R word regarding State House.
So thank you, Janet Miller, Sergeant at Arms, and I know I'll be brief in what has transpired since our last meeting. So on October 23rd, we had a meeting here at the State House for a walkthrough of what spaces could be used for our State House mitigation project. And in that meeting, we had Tricia Harper, our consultant. We had members of Buildings and General Services, Joe Asia, Cheryl Lynn Lafley, and David Sheets. And then the team from Freeman was here, along with Laura Trishman for Historic Preservation. So we reviewed the topics that JLMC had given us on October 2nd. And in lieu of the time constraints, I'm not going to go into that because I think you all remember what that was. But after we did the walkthrough, this were the points that were made. So the 1859 building should stay as is. And you'll be interested in this, Representative Wood, because then we reviewed the current lounge space. And what had been said was that we could use glass partitions in that room that then could be shaded at some point, but people like the visual of having the whole room. But that all being said, it was a decision that any renovations for the lounge would be the last resort. Because we hear our members like the lounge. The area where we have the copy room in the police department now, it can be reconfigured. Historic Preservation preferred that we just didn't put a bank of restrooms in that area. You know, 1 or 2 accessible restrooms there would be great, but just not to see that whole section as just restrooms.
Where was that, Janet?
That was where the bins are now.
Oh, okay.
Because that whole area had been built even within my time. That used to be all one open space. So it could go back and have some reconfiguration in it. The committee rooms in the 20s can be altered, except for Senate Education. And there's historic preservation value in that room. And it, David, it used to be the Chief Justice's chamber. Is that right? Okay. So they would like to keep that room preserved because it does have that doorway that goes into the lounge, what used to be the court. The 30s and 40s can be renovated to meet ADA and egress. Maybe the first phase would include a new stairwell in the back of the building. So there could be renovations in the 30s and 40s to accommodate that. And they just ask that we keep any library artifacts from the original area. So there might be like a glass floor under there or pieces of it. So historic preservation would like that all to be documented, but we can still do it. The possible space above the second floor restroom, so that's up by the cafeteria, those restrooms up there. There's a large space up there if you go out and you look at it. And if the rooftop of that was reconfigured, it ends up being a space that's just a void now, and perhaps something could be built up there.
How much space? Like the size of just to give us some context, like the size of a committee room or?
24 by 36. And remember, we have mechanical to get into, so, but we're calling it a full space.
Yes. And so it was recommended that the speaker's office and the House Clerk's office should remain the same. And the first floor coat room, as is, functions well now as a coat room. It can be altered for ADA compliance, of course, and including, it can go all the way back to the east side. So that can all be included. About these rooms, I think they were all set that the 9, 10 and 11, would be going back to general use. But room 9, that new room there that used to be the coat room, is too beautiful of a room for a coat room now. It maybe could stay as a committee room. The mezzanine can be altered and reviewed and review the space for committee rooms. There's more space that you might think if walls were knocked down and things like that. So Freeman's going to look at that and see what they could actually fit up there. The cafeteria space, as it is now, can be altered, but this would be an expensive proposition there. And I think that has to do now with the skylights, would make it difficult.
It's the serving and the kitchen that's expensive.
So, and if you're up in the cafeteria and you're looking towards the House chamber, you can see out those windows there where most of the lobbyists sit. There is potential space there that we could put like a little walkout cafeteria outside space there that could be used or used in another. I don't think it would be an indoor space.
It would be enclosed in the new courtyard infill.
Oh, okay. So if we did the whole atrium space back where the coat room is now, that could go up and it could be used up above as well. Almost done. Let's see, what's there? And we'll also review the possibility of expanding the Ethan Allen room, just to make it a little bit larger committee room, because that would be a problem. So the proposed next steps are what we had described last time. Madam Speaker, I think you had put that into a document. So Freeman is now working on finishing up the programming phase that will need to be approved by the JLMC committee and the Chair Institutions Committee. And so that we can move forward with the next phase, which is the schematic design. So the schematic design documents are to include all committee rooms within the building while encompassing the administrative supported pandemic mitigation ARPA project. And meanwhile, while this schematic design documents are being developed by Freeman, we spoke with Joe Asia, and it was understood that perhaps Freeman will continue to develop a master plan so that for the future, so that they'll be working on two things at the same time. I think hopefully, and I think for recommendation, like the next meeting, if you folks have it, like at the end of November, would be good for you to weigh in on the next steps and perhaps so we can move this forward.
Yeah. So would we have the information back from Freeman French Freeman by the end of the month?
I think so, Tricia.
Yeah, they said the first week of December, but we can ask that they have it for Tuesday, the 28th, if that's.
Okay. If you could just
Yeah.
confirm that, because I want to make sure that the members have at least a little time to look at before we bring it here for conversation.
So before.
Senator Kitchell.
I just wanted to ask a bit about the entrance, the public entrance that we thought should be part of not only the ADA compliance, but is that part of the design that you're developing right now?
So the first phase of it would be back where the loading dock is now?
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know, did I tell you that the scaffolding and all that is not going back up this year? So it's going to be a good thing because it was not conducive to that. And we're going to monitor it, or what BGS is going to monitor it for us, because the heat tape is all fixed now, so they're just going to monitor it every day, and hopefully the ice buildup isn't going to be an issue. So we don't have to bring that scaffolding in, which was hard for wheelchairs, just walking in was hard.
Yeah.
But for the future plan, I think that would be included, Senator Kitchell, in the first phase of the plan we're thinking, that might be able to go forward quicker.
Okay. Thank you.
Representative Shaw.
So Janet, and I think you just cleared it up for me, but I want to be sure so that the pieces you just talked about are in addition to the phase one plan that we looked at earlier. Do I have that right?
Yes, the projects we were talking about, what could be altered in the 30s and the 40s and all that.
Right.
That's in addition to
That's in addition to
the
the phase
atrium.
one. So there's two separate operations going on here. One and 1A or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So we're going to look at 1A in end of November and think about, or will we ever think about moving forward with a plan for a larger secure entrance and some of the other issues that we talked about.
Go ahead, Tricia.
Excuse me, to clarify, this atrium will be the secure health screening entry. So this first phase is to address those concerns and create a space for health screening in the department. Right. But basically for us to have a controlled ADA access to the building from both the east and the west ends.
So that's still on the table.
That is phase one.
That's phase one.
Yeah.
Yeah, phase two is the larger conversation.
Right.
But the stair tower in the northwest corner is phase one. The stair tower out here is phase one.
I got that concept.
Okay.
I just don't want to know if we're pushing that aside or still on the table or in favor of these short-term, I'll call it short-term renovations that you just outlined.
But the hope is to get rid of the fire escape and reconfigure the committee rooms so that they work better. It's what we are pushing, which is separate from that atrium, which we may need, the ARPA funding is over anyway.
Right.
All right, any other questions for Janet? Yeah, go ahead, Representative Wood.
Sorry, not about Janet.
Okay.
About timing for next meeting.
Okay, so thank you very much. Oh, and Janet, do you have those written down that you could give to us, the points that you just gave, so that we can make sure that Representative Emmons and Senator Ingalls has the?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you very much. All right, so our hope is that we can meet at the end of the month on the 28th. You received an email from Mike and me about that date, so let us know if that doesn't work for you.
Well, we have a conflict with Joint Justice Oversight.
Okay.
And so my question is whether that meeting doesn't start till 10. Will we start at 9? If we can start at 9, that would be.
Sure.
So I can't meet on Tuesdays or Thursdays.
Okay. All right, so I think we need to look at the 29th then as a possibility. Can everyone pull out their phones right now and look at the 29th?
Fine with me.
Any conflict with that?
What was
Looking
the
at-
time for the 29th?
Well, it'd be this same time, 9 to noon-ish.
Okay, I believe I'm getting my winter tires on at 9 that day. So it's going to be hard to find a new date for that. But I might be able to join via phone
Okay.
from
All right,
mechanics.
I can follow up offline with you about that. Senator Kitchell, does the 29th work for you?
I'm just looking at my calendar. That's Wednesday, November 29th.
Correct?
Yeah, my dance card is open.
Beautiful. All right. Mike, can you please make that happen and get an invite out to all committee members? And looking around the room, just to inform everyone, that is our new date. Representative James?
Just a question for planning. Do you anticipate that we'd be voting on anything at that meeting, or would Zoom?
Yes. Yes, our goal is that we're going to have several votes that we need to take that day. We'll also have the legislative budget be coming forward that will need a vote, and possibly some policies from HR.
Okay.
Great. All right, any other questions before we wrap up? Kath, I'm going to assume that's your previous hand. All right. Okay. All right.